Alright, welcome to another episode of Reflections. My guest for this one is Nexus. Now, this is where I would usually come up with some witty intro. I would comment about, how me and Nexus, we've always had fantastic relationship, always worked together perfectly. Every team we were on, perfect success. I would always probably say something like that. But actually, this time, I just have to say this one's going to be a bit different to the one I did previously with Ecke-Xelore, which is linked below. This one I'm actually going to be showing stuff while we're talking, so it's going to be a bit easier to follow if people aren't as familiar as me and Nexus are with the teams we've been playing in and such. So I'll be doing my best to show stuff on screen at the same time and also have timestamps for this one. That's crazy, right? Can't have timestamps. That's ridiculous. So welcome Nexus. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Not really anything going on.
All right, good.
It's fine.
So as per this this formula, we're obviously gonna go from the first experiences you've had with Counter-Strike. We'll go in chronological order. We'll go from, the first time we played CS all the way until the last time we played together or something like that, and then touch on stuff along the way. So let's begin. So my first question to you is, when did you start playing Counter-Strike, and what kind of cap do you playing?
Okay, I can tell you it's not the train outside. I was I think it was like 2013 or 14. I started playing Source with my friends, like on solo servers because why not? It was fun. And then I don't know about a half a year later, or a year, I started playing Global Offensive. Since well, that's what my friends were playing. I was interested, as Call of Duty was kind of boring, and I mean it was matchmaking adventures from there, basically.
Okay, so for those who don't know, I made my first team in mid 2017. Nexus was not on that team. But I think we got in touch in February 2018, I believe it was, or January or something, and I was trying to make a
Yeah.
team after I made that Norwegian team, which is a fiasco, of course. But if you remember this, what kind of drew you to the team that I was trying to make? Like, why did you decide to join?
Well, it was the fact that you're well Norwegian, so I was like, okay, he knows English, that's good, and well that's I mean basically it. And then I just played with you. Then I was like, I mean when you originally tried to make a team with I can't remember who it was, fucking
At the time it
one of the
was
people.
Håkon. It was Monstros here. I have it on screen right now. So that was when we went to Cursed Anarchy. That's where my categorization
No,
starts at
like I
least.
mean before that,
Oh,
when
before
you
that, right?
originally like I guess trialed or whatever.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a bunch of people there that we don't know anymore. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, that's
yeah.
and well after I heard nothing from you, basically saying, yeah, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna make a Norwegian team. I'm guessing that's what happened. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure that was actually what happened because I made that Norwegian team. Well, I decided to make it actually in December, I think. So it's very possible that we got in touch before that because I know I was definitely trying to make an international team after Fianchetto, fell apart. And but what do you think on that then? What do you think is the reason you would go for? Because I know you've played mostly on international teams. I know, of course, you played on some Finnish teams as well with your friends. But do you actually think the international team idea is better than the national team?
I mean that's all preference. I mean personally, I don't really like Finnish teams or the idea of a Finnish team or myself playing in one that I don't find it that appealing. Simply because I find the Finnish language cringy. So I would personally prefer an international team where I just speak English. But that's just me.
Sure. Um, So let's go back to what's actually happening then at this time. So we're in early 2018 after the Norwegian team fails massively. And I know we played with a few different players. I'll bring some of them up here. I'll just get your thoughts on some of them. So obviously one of the first people you played with in that team was actually Ecke-Xelore. Now, at the time, he was the in-game leader when you first joined, from what I remember. What were your first impressions of him as an in-game leader and as a player?
I mean, it was pretty okay, but the only thing that really, I guess, ticked me off or was like, I don't know, made me question was the fact that we didn't really practice any strategies that much, if that makes sense. I mean, we can come back to that later. But as a player, he was doing his job. It was like you couldn't blame him for not doing his job. He did it really well.
Because the role that Ecke-Xelore played basically in that team, he wasn't on an in-game leader, but he was also the player taking up like the shitty positions, I guess. So like I guess the classic like tactical in-game leader kind of style, where you put your star players in the best positions and then yourself in like the bad positions, and then you play more like the brain role, I guess. But after Ecke-Xelore leaves in May 2018, actually, you become the in-game leader. And what kind of brought you to that? What did you think? Why did you think that was why do you think that was the time for you to take up the in-game leadership in that team?
And that's I feel like I wanted to do that for a while, like in other teams as well. I feel like it was a decent time to try it out. Obviously, it didn't work out as well as I hoped. As well, it was probably the first time I tried properly. Like calling didn't really work out that well, but still, it was a decent experience. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting something.
I mean, I'll ask you this then. What was kind of your how did you think about the in-game leader role? What was it to you at the time? What kind of role were you trying to fill at the time?
I want to say it was more like I mean, I tried to be tactical in the sense that I wanted to read the opponents and force them to do what I wanted with what seemed like random plays. But I mean, me, it's just my fucking gut instinct telling me to do this. I'm like, okay, well, we've done this a few times. Okay, this might work. It should work. So it was basically just trying to outthink the opponents, and the concept of it, having fun with it, is what I was intrigued in or interested in.
Okay, so at the time, you played also the primary Oper role. After we got rid of Lorix, he left right after Ecke-Xelore left as well. So did you find it challenging at all to be the in-game leader and the primary Oper at the same time?
I mean, I don't know, not really. If I mean, to me, it felt like that's what I wanted to do, like as an AWPer. But then, as an in-game leader, I was like, I knew I was, I guess, limiting if I'm also AWPing, since I don't like going for the entry duels myself. I find out. I mean, obviously that contradicts with the whole AWPing thing, as that's a lot of the stuff you have to do.
Sure.
But I would prefer to just default and have someone with a rifle get the entry duel. As I mean, if they are stacking, that's basically a safer multi-frag if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
So for me, I would rather be the support type of AWPer while in-game leading.
Okay, so at the time, did you were you interested in watching demos of yourself or any players, or watching professional games with an eye out for, what you can learn from different players? Like you talk about the, support AWPing and in-game leading at the same time. Were you looking to people like Fallen or players like this for inspiration to what you should be doing?
I mean, I don't know if I don't think I watched that many demos or if I watched them at all. It was more like watching the games live. I was like, oh shit, this is actually really smart. And that's how I picked up well, bits of info on like how to. I mean, not really. I mean, bits of info. Yeah, I guess you could call it that. Like pieces on what to do, and then like that would form an entirely new puzzle, or like it would form its. I can't even talk. Just
Like in that sense, were you trying to are you trying to say you're trying to make your own style out of what you can see other people doing and then what you're doing yourself?
yes, basically, it would form a picture of like all the small things everyone else was doing, and just picking them up.
Okay, so at this time when you're the game leader and the Oper, which as you say, it wasn't super challenging, but did you experience any limitations? I know you mentioned it a bit earlier, but what do you think? Do you think that limited the team in any way?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Considering the fact that like when we had someone like Lorex who was just going for every single duel, he was winning some of them, he was losing some of them. I mean, some of the duels he won that just gave us rounds. Then when I'm not going for entries as much as him or something like that, I feel like it did limit the team a lot.
Yeah, because obviously the AWP is a very powerful weapon, and I mean, you'd think of the AWP as someone who goes for the entries, but uh, why did you prefer not to do that? You said you wanted to play with a rifler at the same time and be kind of like a duo, but why did you think that is? Was there any experience you had in previous teams or anything that you think led you to think of your role that way?
I mean, it's just I felt like I wasn't comfortable with it. It was mostly just that. I don't know, peeking into the angles. I don't know. I didn't feel comfortable with it. It was mostly just that.
Okay, so you mentioned Lorix, of course, and for those who don't know, he was one of the first players on this team. He was in the initial lineup, which was me, you, and then Lorix and two people who I don't remember, I think. So you mentioned him there. What did you think about him as a player?
I mean, he was good, but he was inconsistent, which is probably the best way to describe him, in my opinion.
Okay, did you find him someone who was easy to work with when you were the in-game leader?
I mean, sometimes. I mean, obviously he can do his own stuff, and then sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he listens, and then he wouldn't. It's basically the gist of it. He would do his own stuff every now and then, or do riskier peaks, or so-called pug plays.
Yep. Okay, so in this time we're in May 2018, and what basically happens is pretty much a Norwegian shuffle because at this time we are basically an international lineup, and pretty much what happens is we replace Lorix with Oliver Disrupt, and we replace Sealer with Nebula. I'll show it here. And basically what happens is that we decide to bring in these two players, obviously, who were my former teammates in that Norwegian team that I mentioned. So initially, so obviously Oliver is someone you played with for a long time, and even you're playing with him now as well. What did you think about him initially as a player when he came to the team?
I thought he was probably one of the like better aimers I've seen. He was basically a hard carry, but he was still a good team player. Like Lorix, he had his own things. He wanted to go for pug plays, and I mean, I think he's a good teammate. At least like nowadays, he's way more passive and doesn't go for as much risky peaks as he used to. But back then, I just appreciated the fact that we had someone who could carry if he just was feeling it, basically.
Of course, and Nebula is someone who kind of comes on the other side of that spectrum, at least in my opinion, because I always viewed him kind of as a supportive player. But what did you think of working with these two guys as the in-game leader? You know, what did you think you were able to get out of them, and how did that affect the team?
Okay, so I mean, I already talked about Disruptor Oliver. About Nebula, I mean, I thought he was probably one of the better clutchers in the team. So it was good to have him in a supportive role. So, I mean, whenever he did have to clutch, he probably won out most of them. At least from what I can recall from playing with him. I didn't really. I mean, he didn't actually have any or too many downsides to him. He could do basically anything in the team. And when just if you ask him, he was like, "Yeah, okay, I can try this at least." So I feel like he was like a complete player. If you think like if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, at this time, we actually bring in a British guy, Muntlol. Do you remember him at all?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so my basic thought was, I mean, just quickly, he's the older guy, he's like in his mid-20s or something, played CS for a long time, and my whole thought was like, okay, okay, so Nexus doesn't really want to do the in-game leadership stuff just yet, is the impression I had at the time at least. So I was like, okay, well, let's just bring in this older, wiser in-game leader guy. So what did you think of him?
I mean, he was decent. We played a few games, but well, then he was lacking in the fragging department, as well we both know.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then I didn't mind playing with him, but then he just basically disappeared for a few weeks, and we were just forced to find a new player.
Yeah, I brought up the stats on the screen here. So these are taken from, I think, it doesn't say how many games this is.
It's around 5 or 6, probably.
Yeah, something like that. And actually, so in this here, you can actually see people watching at least. You can see that the stats of the different players, and obviously Disrupt all the way up there, Nebula all the way up there, and then me and Nexus on similar level, like mid 100 kills or something like that, and then Muntlol with the solid 63 kills, 150 deaths. So that kind of gives the impression of him as a player, I suppose. But my thought was always, okay, let's bring him in as the in-game leader. But anyway, as you say, he just basically disappears. He for personal reasons that I won't reveal. But basically, what happens is we're forced to find a new player, as we say, and the player we actually eventually settle on, I believe, is actually I can figure this out if I bring it up. So the player we bring in for him, I think I might have got this wrong actually. Might have brought in one of the Norwegians for him actually. Um, Actually, you know what? I think we actually brought in I think we brought in Håkon for this one actually, Monstros. For this, at least as a backup, we played with him. While we needed a player. And he was on the team very briefly while you first joined it. But what did you think of Håkon as a player?
I mean, he was really good. He was up there with Oliver, in my opinion, on like the best player in the team. The only problem is that I mean, he was inconsistent. I still think he's a really good player.
Don't worry about that. Just close the window. Okay, so that kind of brings us on to like the next era of cursed anarchy. I guess we should talk about that as well. Before, or actually, the team that I was trying to remake was obviously Cobras Montes, legendary organization, of course, in the esports space. But we ended up joining Cursed. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. You know, what did you think about playing under an organization? And was it your first time playing under an organization?
I mean, I don't know if I would consider it playing under an organization since, I mean, what did they really do?
Sure, yeah. What did you think there was any value to the whole? Okay, we have a structure. You know, we were like the third team. I think we were the third team at the time. We ended up being the only one because everyone else fucked off. But so we had the structure. We had obviously zero stock at the top in our place for some team, not North Sea Gaming, I saw at least. But uh, we had this kind of structure. We had I was the team captain at the time. You know, we had a set amount of players. Did you think there was any value in like the, I guess, the artificial structure that it brought? Did you think there was anything of value?
I mean, I don't really know. It was more like, I mean, yeah, sure. That was basically my thought process on it. I was like, I mean, yeah, sure. Like I said, it's just we're just there. Don't really do much, but we're there. And I mean, so was I mean, the structure was similar. It was basically just if you could, I mean, if you could insert the name of the guy just saying okay.
Sure, yeah.
Not that it really did anything.
No, that's true. But one thing that we did get the chance for when we were playing in Cursed was actually we got invites to, or we got information at least about these online tournaments. Now, the first one we played in was the Alike Cup. It was actually where we lost. Actually, I think we won against. I think we won against a team called Vape Nation or something, and then we actually lost against Newcastle Jaguars, didn't we? Yeah, so we went 1-1, and then we went out because the format's trash because it's lower tier tournament, of course. But you know, did you think there was any value in that at least in playing in tournaments? You know, how much did that matter to you? Do you think?
I mean, I found the whole like playing tournaments. It's fun in my opinion. I really like it. It's like actual teams that practice and then just play against them, and I mean you can go up against them and measure your own skill, basically. And the further you go, you're like, okay, damn shit, this is good. It's, I mean, yeah, that's basically what I get from it. Is like if you beat like actually good teams, you're like, holy shit, this should not happen. How?
Sure. So as you say, we're playing against teams that are practicing, you know, maybe less or so like Vape Nation, but you know, Newcastle Jaguars, you know, actual try-hard team at least. So in this time, I believe you were still the game leader. You know, Muntlol was gone, and we had, you know, whatever lineup we had at the time. But do you think that, because you obviously you mentioned that about the practice thing, you know, what do you think was the most needed practice that we should be doing, you know, that well, either the important that we did or the important that we didn't, you know. What were your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, I got a few things on this. The first, like we actually worked on communication. That's a really good thing. Like we were basically talking about it after every game. We're like, okay, this is what we can fix about our communication, and I mean, you remember, it's we had a fucking Google Docs. We were like, yeah, yes,
Yeah,
okay, this is what we have to do. This is what we can't do, and people were just giving their opinion on everything. And then something we didn't do is, I mean, I'm gonna take it myself. We didn't actually map track that much. We did it in the beginning, but then we kind of just forgot about it,
yeah,
and that was basically what I want to say that's like our downfall, or the beginning of the downfall. Since we didn't really practice, we were just playing and trying to hope a miracle happens or something.
of course, yeah. And for those who don't know, practice is, I mean, I think at least from the team captain perspective, probably the most important thing, apart from actually playing, because I'm sure you could agree on this as well. What you actually do is you work together, and unlike, after the games where you might be like, ah, fuck, we shouldn't have lost that round, you fucked up, or we did the misplay here, we shouldn't have bought, we shouldn't have done the strat. How it can be sometimes after the games, or other times when you win, you'll be like, ah, no, whatever, that mistake, it doesn't matter, we know we won. So, in that sense, practice is kind of like a neutral ground when it comes to the atmosphere, at least. But I wanted to ask, at least, um, why do you think that we didn't practice? Was it us two fucking up, not taking enough, initiative and trying to get us to practice, or do you think it was just something the whole team suffered from?
I remember we were like actually practicing in the beginning. We were doing different stuff, but then at some point we were like, oh, I actually remember myself asking people, I was like, do you just not want to practice today and just play a lot?
Yeah.
And then people were like, yeah, and that just it carried over to the next day and the next week and so on. And basically we never practiced. We were like, oh, let's just go and play, haha. Which
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, probably the biggest mistake in the team.
I mean, sure, yeah,
Which,
you might be right on that because, as you mentioned, that kind of was the start of the downfall, at least that change in mentality, where you go from, okay, we're gonna try our best, we're gonna practice, we're gonna play seriously, we're gonna do all this. Gradually, over the course of, I guess, maybe, who knows, weeks, months, however long, it kind of goes from being a cohesive unit into being like a bit more, relaxed, where it's like, okay, well, let's just do that. Let's just play today and then let's chill tomorrow. Let's, whatever. Not really having the assertiveness, I guess, to like, or the focus that, we are gonna play today. We are gonna do all this stuff, not just as individuals, but as a team. And as you mentioned, that plays a huge deal in the downfall of Cursed Cobras, which is definitely the thing we'll get onto now, because what ends up happening is well, actually we can go a bit. We don't have to skip to that just yet, because actually we see a person rejoin actually in July 2018, and that was CSGO. Now CSGO basically left. You can see my reflections interview with him if you're interested in scrolling through 3 hours of content to find it, because it doesn't have timestamps, unfortunately. But basically, he says this ridiculous line of like, "I don't got time to play games, shit's dumb," or whatever. Legendary, of course. And he rejoins on the 31st of July, 2018, and he doesn't come back as an in-game leader. He says to me, "Okay, I just want to be a player, I just want to play under the in-game leader, basically." So, how was your experience working with Sealer after he came back, in his second period in Curse Cobras?
I mean, I thought he was a really good role player. He just did basically anything. He was focusing on his own game. But I mean, in my opinion, everyone in the team could have been more vocal. Just not him. I mean, him included. Because obviously was
And
the
more
team wasn't
vocal?
really go. I mean, yeah, in like decisions on what I did, since I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't do that good of a job, or a good job at all, in managing people. But I mean, as a role player, he was really good at like supporting. He did his job. He didn't really like complain out loud. I know he did have his own opinions and stuff. He didn't really say, which is why I hoped he and I mean everyone would have been more vocal in the team and just told me straight up that okay, this is fucking awful. Don't do this.
Yep.
But as a player, I think he was good at his job. I mean, mechanically he may not have had the best aim. I know he was playing on a laptop that's
Like
I mean he had
30
like
FPS or something.
yeah. I mean obviously I can't comment right now on how he's playing or I think yeah he's playing right.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's just I mean yeah if you, yeah that's basically it then.
Okay, so at the time, of course, and I've said this about 10 times now, so I'll stop. At the time, you were doing game leader, of course, still. Uh, so, what did you kind of think of our, I guess, us two working together? Because obviously, at least from my perspective, the team captain and the game leader have to be on the same page at least. So, do you think we were doing a good job at that?
I mean, I feel like we were doing decent job enough. I mean, it wasn't really. I don't think it was a big deal that led to anything like major. But I mean, obviously there could have been. I mean, there might have been something we could have done better. I can't actually recall anything right now. But yeah, no, that's. Yeah, I think that's it basically.
All right. So, um, did you have any talks with people like one to one? Because I know this is something I've done obviously a lot. I I would know, obviously, but did you have a talk with Sealer? Did you ask him advice? You've been in game leader for a long time. What do you think I should do? Or do you remember us talking about it? Or did you have anyone that you kind of talked to about this whole thing that you didn't think you were doing a good job, or did you kind of keep that locked away to yourself?
I do remember messaging Sailor like asking, or I mean, yeah, because obviously I still thought it was a good IGL. I was like, I respected his opinion. I was like, okay, so basically, okay, it makes. It doesn't make that much sense, but as I did respect his opinion, I was like, okay, so we can start doing this now, and we can start working on actual strats and stuff. I mean, yeah, that makes more sense in my head. And then he was like, yeah, we can start doing this soon. So I was like, I mean, we could start doing it now, but we can just start doing it a bit later then, since we have to fix this first. As he pointed out, I mean, I remember him pointing out some things that still weren't like as good as they should have been. But then I remember having talks with Oliver or Disrupt about like working on strategies late at night. We were just trying to think about stuff that would work. Obviously, not the best thing if you. I mean, I was a little inexperienced as an IGL. I didn't really. Well,
I mean, it might
understand.
also affect other people's confidence in you, right? If you're constantly asking other people for advice as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, probably.
So, after Sealer joins, it kind of officially starts, I guess, the downfall. Because what ends up happening is me and Nebula, we have huge internet issues at the time, to the point where neither of us can play at all. Actually, where we're stuck on like 200 ping or whatever, and obviously Sailor's internet wasn't that much better at the time. So do you think because I know Sailor and me talked about this in our talk on reflections, we talked about how this might have been a cause for like frustration. Did you experience any of that? Did you think it was a big deal?
I mean, obviously, I thought it was annoying and frustrating that we couldn't play with the actual team when we should have been able to. As that's obviously what I would have preferred. I mean, yeah, I know that you couldn't really help the internet thing. It's not your fault. Still, I'm frustrated. I'm probably taking it out in the wrong place. And, well,
So
we all
in
know
the
how that went.
yeah, we do, yeah. So after this whole debacle, let's say it lasts for like into August, right? Let's say into August, which at that point we're playing in EEL Season 3, which is Empire Esports League or whatever. And I think I'll bring this up actually, but we'd actually played in the season before that, where I actually don't remember. Do you think did we place highly in season 2 or what? Did you remember that?
I think pretty sure we went out 0-2 after the classic choke.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
There's
yeah,
also
that's
someone you
hilarious.
didn't mention joining the team after Ecke-Xelore left.
Oh, I didn't.
Of course not.
Right. Oh no, we'll get on to that. Don't worry, I remember now. We'll get on to that.
I
That's a
mean,
second later after this, after season
he
2.
actually no, he joined season 2.
Did he?
Yeah. Ecke-Xelore stopped playing, then he joined.
I can't believe I fucked this up. You're right. Okay, so I've just done myself, haven't I? So
Yes,
right,
you
well
have.
let's just talk about Ecke then. So he joins before EEL season 2, replacing Ecke-Xelore, I guess. Actually, according to this here, he doesn't. But okay, let's just say he plays in the team. I think he's playing with Ecke-Xelore as well. Yeah, he replaced Oliver, I think, or something. There was some fuckery with that. I'm not entirely sure though. But let's just say he was playing with Ecke-Xelore, and in EEL Season 2, we obviously have the famous Cursed Cobras with the 12-3 lead on Mirage in the best of one. And we lose it basically. We're on CT side, or we go from T side to CT side. We're leading 12-3 to halftime. And we lose, was this 16-14? It must have been 16-14, right?
I'm pretty sure it was 16-14.
So, for those of you who don't know, that's a pretty devastating loss. That means the enemies have gotten 13 rounds and you've gotten 2 rounds in a half, which is ridiculous, actually.
We actually go 1.
Oh, yes, that's true, actually. Shit. Yeah, it was 13. Yeah, oh, shit, that's right. Okay. So, after that
No,
game.
it went into overtime actually.
Did it?
It was like 20-19 or 22-19.
Oh, that might have been. Yeah, I think there were more. There was more than one choke, so that might have
Yeah,
been.
there were 2.
There, yeah, maybe 3. You could argue. You could argue there were 3, maybe 4. But anyway, this is. I guess this is our first one, right? So, uh, what was your thoughts after the game? Or actually, let's just go. If you remember any of the game, did you think, oh fuck, we're doing this wrong, this is all gonna fall apart, did you have any of those thoughts, or did you think, oh, let's just play, we'll win eventually, what was your mindset in that game?
I can't remember, but I'm probably I want to say I was probably panicking. I'm like, holy shit, how is this happening? All we need is 3 rounds, and well, that didn't really happen, did it?
No, it certainly didn't. So after that game, we obviously have a bit of a discussion, you could say, as to what happened. If I remember correctly, I think 2 people just left instantly, and the rest of us were just shocked, I think is what happened. So if anyone's seen any pictures of Team Liquid after they lose a lead, wouldn't be hard to find those, by the way. Anyway, if anyone's seen those pictures, that's probably what we looked like in real life. Shocked, sad, whatever. But if I remember correctly, after that, we kind of go off at each other, I guess, as you do. Um, and I think actually this is where the initial like issues start because, and actually I'll mention this. This is kind of where I guess it kind of boils over for some people, where we're not having much success, we're not really winning, and it kind of goes back to what you said, being too quiet when it comes to um, the being open, because what happens is basically because people aren't being open and talking about the issues. When it goes really badly, people are like, you know, really uppity about it. They're really like, oh, you're bad at this or bad at that or whatever. So after this, did you lose any confidence in yourself or any of the other people in the team?
I actually can't remember. 'Cause all I remember is the fucking loss and how we just memed it afterwards.
That's true. Actually, we did do that. Well, all right. We'll go on to Ecke then. So, uh, Ecke is obviously he was someone we used as a stand-in actually when me and Nebula were having our issues. We were having them all summer, so we needed a stand-in, and he was the one we got. I think we played an overpass game with him on face, and he got like 40 kills or something. Or no, I think it was actually I think it was in EEL season 2 or the qualifier or something. Where we played an overpass. I remember because I have it up on my channel somewhere. And he got like fucking 40 kills or something. It was ridiculous. But what did you think of him as a player at the time?
I mean, I knew very little of him, but I grew closer, I guess. I mean, I thought he was a good player, but well, he was still hadn't played the game that much. But he was a good aimer and all that. Obviously, he grows as a player. He was eager to learn the game, so I'm gonna give him that. He was trying his best, even if he wasn't. I mean, he was a good aimer. He wasn't that consistent. Like, I just keep going back to the people aren't being consistent. No one is.
Pretty normal for our level actually.
Yeah.
So after this, we go on to the normal, as we say, status quo. After that, basically after we go out in season 2, as you said, we're playing rather than practicing. We're not really being open about the problems in our team and all that. So if as a viewer you can imagine, okay, so we have these smaller issues and they're building up and they're building up and they're building up, and in any relationship, it boils over at some point, as it does every time you're not being honest and open. And what ends up happening is we have a conflict between Silor and Ecke, where Silor's basically I think if from what he described it as in when I talked to him, he said it was very specific. He remembered exactly. He was on Inferno, he was sitting on long, and then Ecke was on short, and then Ecke didn't help him fight the people in mid when they all came out without any utility or whatever. And Taylor got kind of upset about that, so he was like, "Oh, what are you doing, man? You need to help me and stuff." And Ecke didn't take it too well. But after the game, we talked about it and whatever, and it basically went from being like, uh, just like a discussion. Like after any game, you're like, okay, well, I think we should have done this better, done this better. But I guess it was something about how Sailor talked to him, or something else, that kind of got upset, and he ends up leaving the Discord. Actually leaving the Discord, not just disconnected, but actually leaving the Discord. So, and this is kind of where that conflict starts, right, between him and Sailor. So, did you think that was worth the conflict? Did you think that was just a childish thing to argue about?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't know really. Because if it keeps happening, I've no idea if I mean, from what Sealer said, and I can't remember. I mean, it wasn't uncommon, but it's just the way Ecke played, at least back then. That, I mean, get it? No. If it kept happening, didn't change it, then it's understandable he gets upset. I mean, even okay, then there are different ways you can bring this up. If you bring it up like aggressively, being like, "Yo, what the fuck are you doing?" Instead of wait, can you actually help me next time, or something like that. There's a difference. I mean, I don't remember much if we had any actual agreements before. No, arguments before this. Like with Ecke and Sealer about this.
I mean,
And if
I
they
don't remember either.
yeah.
So do you think the main issue really was how they were communicating instead of the actual issue here?
I want to say yeah. It's the communication. It was like really it wasn't really that good in the like between them or in the team. Because I feel like people go, I mean, yeah, we did talk about things. We did try and fix them, but then there were other problems that came up. And we tried to fix them, but then didn't really work out. We were like, okay, I guess this is just how it is.
Yep.
Sadly, that is how it ended up.
You're not wrong, yeah. So that was kind of another nail in the coffin, I guess, if you could say it like that. So first nail, internet issues, at least I think. Second nail, the conflict between Sailor and Ecke. That's at least how I thought about it, from as someone who's trying to keep, a good atmosphere in the team at least. I kind of view that as like something to be diffused, as soon as possible. Ended up not happening, of course. I think that's partly because, and I'll reveal this because it's so long time ago, which is why you don't do these interviews right away, because this would have been maybe a bit controversial, but I'll reveal this anyway, because why the fuck not? So basically, Sealor, I talked to him afterwards, and he basically said that, like, I don't think we should be playing with someone who's like this young or whatever. He's too immature, he's too like, whatever. Obviously, Sealor's like older guy, because Ecke was 15 at the time, and Sealor was in like, was he early
He was
20s?
19 or 20.
I think he was 20 at the time, something like that. 19, 20, yeah, could be either one. So obviously, a bit of a disconnect there. So it kind of becomes their problems become more of the actual more than the actual problem. It kind of grows to be personal, which is kind of what really which really ends up being the final nail in this proverbial coffin, with the shit inside, which is the team. And
I
basically,
feel like that is an accurate way to describe the team.
you know what I was thinking about just now? I was thinking maybe that's not a fair thing to say, but you know what? It actually was. And I can't remember correctly if we played EEL Season 3 after or before this. It doesn't really matter because Steeler didn't play in it. But I'll mention EEL Season 3 as well. Because what happens here is, because of my internet issues, I'm not playing, I'm actually coaching. That's one change. Another change is we're playing with Oliver and Håkon. Actually, Håkon was in the team, I think, at the time. Yeah. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Okay, never mind. So we're playing with Oliver instead of Sealer, and I'm coaching, which means we're playing with Ecke as well. So the lineup then was you, Ecke, Oliver, Nebula,
Håkon and
and
Nebula.
Håkon. Yeah. So what ends up happening is we win. I say we. I was coaching. Maybe whatever. Actually, I'll get your thoughts on that first. I asked Sealer the same question, and I'd like to ask this to you as well. Did you think I actually brought anything of value as a coach?
I mean, I think you kept the level-headedness that was. I mean, you kept the team level-headed, and then I remember you watching one of the demos of the teams we were playing. You were like, "Oh, this is what they do in pistol, by the way." They fucking did it, and we win the pistols. I was
Yeah,
like,
won
"Oh
that pistol.
shit!"
Yeah, I take full credit for us winning that pistol
That is
round.
your credit. That is your full credit.
Thank you.
And I mean, I don't know. I mean, you did keep the team like calm and shit whenever we did take timeouts. You would sometimes take them yourself in the game. But like, okay, boys, let's fucking calm down. We're fucking winning. Let's not throw this like we normally do. And I feel like that was a good change for the atmosphere. I mean, it may have been, but then having the inconsistency of playing with a stand-in, that's really not that good. But having someone as a coach, I thought it was really good, or fun, at least, helpful.
All right. So what did you actually? I guess you kind of said it there, but what did you actually think about playing with the stand-ins? Because obviously, this is kind of one of the things that you might have to deal with, at our level at least. You have to play with, uh, if people are having these issues, you have to play with a stand-in. And the great thing, if you're playing with, Monstrous and Disrupt, great fucking players. But the problem is they're not in your team, and you don't really have the time to like do the practice. You don't have time to talk about stuff after the game because obviously they're busy with work and school and stuff on the outside. They're not really committed to Counter Strike at this time. They're both kind of you know they're really doing other stuff at the time, so they don't really have the time for that. Um, but so what did you actually think? Was it worth it? Do you think to play with them in this tournament?
I mean, maybe. I mean, probably. I mean, we go further than we did last time, but I don't know if that's just because of them or because of the fact that we played more as a team, quote unquote team, air quotes here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hello?
Like
Oh,
Ecke-Xelore.
I think my internet died there. Yeah, my internet just died for a minute there. What did you say?
Okay, so
Oh, I think it died again actually. Wow, this is unfortunate. Well, we'll just have to wait. Yeah, disconnect from channel. Ah, there we go. Wait. There we go.
good.
Right, so internet having a shit, of course. It would appear I'm still living in mid 2018. But
Ah,
anyway, so I think the last time I well, the last thing I heard you say was, well, I basically asked you, was it worth, or do you think it was worth it playing with this lineup in this tournament, even though it wasn't, because on one hand we were winning, but on the other hand we weren't playing with our actual team. So did you think it was worth it?
in a sense, yes, and then no. I mean, the atmosphere I felt like was better in a sense that there wasn't the conflict of Ecke-Xelore we were talking about earlier. But then again, the fact that we didn't play with our actual team, I mean, that wasn't. Well, that's not what you want to do if you are playing in a team, in my opinion.
Of course, yeah. So just to go very quickly, what happens in this tournament is I would find it if it was possible. I might be able to actually if I yeah, sure, I can just find it actually. Yeah. So EEL season 3, I'll find it up here. It should say here somewhere. We'll bring it up actually. It should say here somewhere about where we placed Cobras. Let's see. So, yeah, we won our first game versus Dolla Dolla. I don't remember their lineup, I'm gonna be honest. Just best of one. This is in the group stage to qualify for the playoffs. And next game versus DEV, right? Don't remember. So these are
That was the game Håkon was in Finland.
was it?
Yeah,
Nice.
played Inferno. It was like 16-10.
16-3 actually.
Oh, I felt like much closer.
Yeah. Well, they won 16-3, so. Maybe that's why. Okay, so in this group then, basically, there's a decider match. Now this is one of the very few cases there's a best of three, which is nice actually for once. We hadn't really played in the best of threes. So this was the best of three against Team Polar. I can't for the life of me remember any of the players. I think it was like I'm not even gonna say anything because I don't know. But it was a best of three. First map was a man. I don't remember actually. Do you remember the maps at all?
Overpass Nuke Mirage.
Overpass. Yeah, I'll tell this funny story as well actually. So where I was doing the vetoes though, because I was team captain all that shit. Okay, and I basically I'm gonna frame this as a 500 IQ move. Okay, so what I did was we did the veto. Okay, first map over Inferno. You said.
No, Overpass.
Overpass. Okay, so yeah, first map overpass, and I'm like, hey, if you pick nuke, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. And he goes on and he picks nuke as their map, their in-game leader, and then the decider is Mirage.
Yep.
Mirage, yeah. So what was your thoughts on that specifically? Was that gross incompetence on my part? Do you think?
Well, thinking back on it, that's fucking hilarious. But at the time, I was like, why the fuck would you not ban Nuke? Because that's the map we basically always ban.
Sure. Now, the reason I frame it as a 500 IQ move is, well, I mean, I'm sure you could, because we end up winning Nuke.
No.
No,
We
we did?
lost to 16-14.
Oh yeah, shit. No,
We
that's
won
true. Yeah, we
overpass.
won overpass 614. Okay. So here's the great thing about this series, okay. One of the we played it for like 5 hours, I think. No, was it 6 or 7? I don't remember. It was a long fight. It was basically a whole day affair, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the last game for the casters to cast either, so that must have been really fun, right? So what basically happens is first map overpass, Team Polar is leading 11-4 on halftime, and we win 16-14. Second map, Nuke, we are leading 12-3 on halftime, and we lose 16-14. And on the last map on Mirage, I think it was 9-6 for us or something, but then it ended up being overtime. But we end up winning it in the end, 22-20 on Mirage. Which means we get into the quarterfinals. Yeah, quarterfinals. But I'll just get your thoughts on this best of three, because this is the best of three where this is where I looked at their CT piss around on overpass, you know, and we threw the knife round, so we get T side, and then we can anti-strat them on piss around, and this kind of shit, you know. And so this is the only game I actually do something as a coach, I will say. But then again, I take credit for us winning that series, you know. Maybe a bit of a stretch, but you know, 16-14, never know. Could have been a pistol run, you know. Um, but well, so is this like the first best of three you had played in a proper team?
Yes. In an actual league, yeah.
Okay, did you have any nerves in this game? You know, did you have the full focus? You know, how driven were you to win this game?
Dude, I wanted to fucking win the game. Like, I just wanted to win. The fact that we were like averaging level 5 or 6 probably, and they were level 9 and 10, we were like, oh shit.
Yeah, on face it, yeah.
Yeah. We're like, oh, well, we're gonna get fucking dicked, and especially when we were down in overpass, I was like, shit. But I do remember saying, okay, boys, T is our side. T side's our half. Then we come back.
Fucking hell. Yeah, and another interesting thing about that series. Oh, we have to mention Nebula's clutch in the 1v3. We have to mention that.
I got a
Uh,
video clip of it.
you have a video. Wait, can you link it to me? I'll just show it actually if you can link it.
Yep.
So I'll just wait for you to link it because it's it's fucking fantastic actually because I think on the stream they were doing like or after the games in that day they were doing like a voting like kind of how ESL have done it recently, you know, with the power play. So people vote on what the best play was or whatever. And this was one of them, and he actually won the damn thing, I think. And so Nebula's 1v3 clutch was one of them. And then I think the moment where you actually team kill, I think it was Ecke with a Molotov. I think
It was
that
like
was
the
one
team
as
killing
well.
me with a Molotov.
Oh shit, yeah. So here we go. I'll bring it up if it wants to load. It probably doesn't, but oh well. Here we go. So right. See if this plays.
25 in the game already back then.
Yep, it was, yeah. Alright, so I don't know how well people watching this can hear this, but let's just play it. Fucking hell. Right, so I don't know if you caught that as well, but the most insane thing about that was obviously the one tap on the guy long. Fucking insane. Incredible. But we're losing 10-4 by halftime here, as you can see. So it was 10-5 then actually. I was wrong. Wow, surprising. I'm never wrong. But anyway, let's move on from that. Despite that being probably the best performance from, I mean, a lot of the players I think I've played with actually. But anyway, as you say, all right game. I mean, we won it. But what did you think, or what did you? I'll do the classic ESL. Okay, I'll do the post game interview a year later. Okay. All right. So you just won the two. You just won the best of three against Team Polar. You know, one of the, you know, favored teams to win this tournament. Nexus. How do you feel?
Yes.
Classic Finnish style, I see. No, but what did you actually think after the game, you know? Did you think like, oh yeah, we're gonna win this, or did you think like, ah, that's just an upset, whatever, we're gonna get railed next game, or what did you think?
I mean, obviously I thought, okay, we only have to win one game, so and we're in the finals. I was like, I mean, hey, we can fucking win it easily, but then shit happened. We can get into that in a minute, probably. But I
We
was
could, yeah.
thinking, oh, gosh darn, we're fucking okay. Somehow we fucking win because people were just on point.
Very true, yeah. Now, one moment that kind of caught my eye in this, I think it might have been after Nebula did that clutch, I don't remember, but we switched to T side. And I remember you saying this. You said like, "Oh, it's just the best lineup I ever played with," you know. Um, and I know I messaged you after that, and I was like, question mark. So would you want to explain that again? You know why you said that?
But that's just fucking to hype up the team, obviously. It's not meant to fucking demoralize anyone. It's just to actually get the team hyped and fucking in the mood.
Sure, yeah. Now, actually, my first suspicion there, I didn't have any suspicions then, obviously, but like, oh yeah, whatever, that's fine. But I was like, still a bit, whatever.
Right.
Um, yeah, I was a bit confused about that. But anyway, we went off to play in the playoffs. It says playoff round one. I guess they mean the quarterfinals
Hmm?
or semifinals. It must have been semifinals because there aren't enough teams. But the semifinals was a best of one, was it?
No, it's a best of three.
It says here Smiley Popcorn 16-9 over Cursed Cobras.
Oh, that's a different game.
But that's the playoffs round one. How is that a different game? I'm confused.
No, that's not the playoffs.
Where the fuck are the playoffs then?
I don't know. We played Two Pictures Gaming though on Mirage and Overpass. They fucking
Uh,
2-0'd us.
oh, did you? North Sea Gaming 2-0. I can't find it for the life of me, but I'll take your word for it. I don't think I played that game then, because I don't remember that happening. Was I there?
I'm not sure.
Because I no, because that would must have been the day after. I have no idea actually. Okay, so actually the thing you just mentioned before that, I don't remember what you were talking about there actually. Um, about how shit hits the fan. I don't remember what that was.
Oh, would you like me to elaborate?
Sure.
Well, I would like that to be the it's about like 3-4 days ish before the fucking the game or the semi-final or whatever. I don't know. I think it was the semi. But that's when the Ecke-Xelore debate, let's
Right.
call it that,
Yep.
it just goes off rails. Basically meaning, or basically it just leads to me and Ecke leaving. Everyone feeling,
Spoiler.
I mean, we're talking about it now, so.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, you're totally right. I thought you meant something else actually, but yeah, that's totally true. It basically
And if
goes
we're going
from
in chronological order, then it is after the quarters, a few days after, the conflict just goes off rails and me and Ecke just basically buy.
yeah, that might have been when yeah, that must have been when Ecke left the Discord then,
No, no, no.
or
He
something.
rejoined back when we just fucking. Oh, that was I don't know a bit earlier.
Sure, okay.
I don't remember
So
how.
yeah, as you say, the debate quotation marks escalates, and it goes to the point where Sealor's like, okay, we gotta fucking get rid of this guy. I think it was. And I'll go ahead and show that because I made let's see, I made like I like to do this as you know. I make these like joke HLTV threads. Um, or
Oh, what I mean, you're not the only one.
oh, true actually. Yeah, I do have one of yours here I want to show. That's true. So I'll show this one first. This is the Cursed Cobra set to replace Ecke. Maybe we should have gone on Discord for this Ecke screen share, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's the one where
I might have it somewhere on my PC.
I probably do. But it's basically just saying, okay, whatever, 1-2-1 against Polar. And it says here, Super Muntlol made suggestive tweets. I think the tweet I made was like, I think I put like 2 Norwegian flags, a
Is
Finnish
that
and
it?
a Latvian flag, and then like a Swedish flag followed by like a right pointing arrow or whatever, and then soon, I think, or something like that. Um, and it was kind of a joke. It wasn't really serious, as if as in like it didn't happen. But what does end up happening is the debate goes from, okay, I think you're misplaying in this sense, and I think you need to change your playstyle in this way. Um, it goes from that earlier into being like, okay, let's get rid of this guy. That's kind of, what Sealer. That's maybe not what he said, but that's at least what the goal was, I guess, for him. And so you obviously take Ekke's side in this. And why do you think that was?
I mean, that's personal because personally, I don't like anyone who just starts. I mean, I doesn't sound really good in this, but starts beef. So in my opinion, the whole can we just replace this guy? I don't want to fucking play with him. It's just that in like to me that was like him or Sealor or I think that was Sealor starting the fucking whole beef. I was like, just
Yep.
well, that's just fucking childish and uh, retarded in my opinion.
Wow. Well, wow. Sure. I could totally see that now. Obviously, at the time, I would take Sealer's side because he's like long-time friend. I'd already played with him for like over a year at this point. But what ends up happening is, while this is going on, I guess, we're still playing. We're doing all this shit, and it's not really out in the open somehow. This might sound really weird for people listening, but it wasn't really out in the open at this point. It was really like there were 2 cliques in the team. It was me and Sealer, and then you and Ecke. And then there was Nebula in the middle, who was like, "What the fuck's happening?" Who was
Yeah.
like getting info from both sides. Like you were like, "Okay, do we want to fucking make our own team or whatever, and we want to get out of Cursed." And then me and Steeler were like, yeah, we want to make our own team. We want to get out of Cursed. In that sense, we were very similar. We had both seen, or both sides have seen that Cursed, wasn't, it wasn't doing anything for us anymore. We had gotten because the owner of Cursed, he actually went to us those times to give us the information about a like cup, EEL season 2, season 3. But after that, there was nothing. I asked him a couple times, I think, after that, are there any tournaments, we can play in? And he was like, yeah, I'll link them to you. And then he never did. So I basically on to Sealer and be like, okay, hey, we should just get out of here. And I guess you kind of had the same thought, that Cursed wasn't, it wasn't worth it anymore.
Mhm.
So I guess the thing that really happens here is actually, what did you have a plan with Ek? Did you, as me and Silo did you go behind, and fucking schemed like, okay, let's get Nebula, and then let's get Oliver or whatever, and let's make a team. Did you do that same thing that me and Silo did, just on the other side of the whole debacle?
I mean, obviously, I'd asked Nebula. He was like, "I don't know, man." I was like, "Okay, well, he's probably gonna go with Marcus then. He's too much of a nice guy to just say fuck you."
Yeah,
So basically, we were like, "Okay, let's just fucking search for other people. Why not?" Don't think this is actually gonna work out in the end anymore. It's beyond repair.
sure. And that's basically what happens. On the 20, I'll bring this up actually, because I have it very much in stone here. So, Cursed Cobras died on the 25th of October, I think it was. Yeah, 25th of October 2018. Cursed Cobras is officially laid to rest. We're dead. I tweet, I did a tweet again where I think I did like the flags again, and then I did 2 separate ones. I did one with like yours and like his flags, and then like question mark, question mark, question mark, and then I did one with like 2 Norwegian flags, me and Nebula, and then Latvian flag for Sealer, and then question mark, question mark. And then we kind of got into the whole at least me and Serious Duck, who was the owner of Curse, we kind of joked around that like I wonder what's gonna happen here. But what ends up actually happening is we both part ways with Curse. That's the lesser storyline. Who the fuck cares? It was a whatever. It didn't really amount to anything. But what really happens here is that. Oh, I'll ask your opinion on this actually before I go on. Do you think this was like a big failure, or do you think okay, was there anything we could have done, do you think?
To restore the team.
Well, was there anything we could have done before that to have this not happen, do you think?
I mean, I don't know, but okay, actually, I don't know if we could have prevented it or saved it or anything, but in my opinion, it was the better choice for everyone to just part ways and not stress each other out anymore, since it wasn't clearly wasn't working.
That's true, yeah. And actually, what ends up happening after this, I think, actually before the team is laid to rest to die officially, we go on. Excuse me. We go on Discord and we talk it out basically. And let's see. Yeah, we went on Discord and we talked. Me, you, Sealor, Nebula, and Ecke. And we talked about. I actually wrote it down to remember it here on the page here. I'll link it to you very quickly actually, so you can see as well. It's under the end of Cursed Cobras and Hellbound section of the link I just gave you. You have to scroll down, I think halfway or something. It's in bold text. It should be fairly easy to see. But anyway, we discuss. I think this is very. I didn't put italic text. I have to like select the quotes. So yeah, yeah, actually I remember now. What basically happened was we went and we talked. And the main issue that pops up here is um, that everyone points out, okay, internet issues were terrible, basically kept us from playing. That was the conclusion, I guess. Everyone else could agree on that. And Ecke said that, at least according to what I wrote like a year ago, that Ecke said, Cursed Cobras won't go anywhere because Sealor complains about, FPS. He was also complaining, a bit about, his internet as well. He had internet issues too, but then also like sometimes about what other players did, as with Ecke. Sometimes he was a bit, aggressive, I guess. So I'm sure that had something to do with it as well. So we talked for a while, maybe like 1 hour. Yeah, it says here after an hour long conversation. Basically, we leave each other, and it wasn't it wasn't like a happy reunion at that point. I guess in that chat. Um, but do you think that was a good way to do it? Do you think it was a good idea to like go on Discord and talk it out and at least be like, okay, well, we all fucked up in a way. Let's just go our own way. Do you think that was the right thing to do?
I mean, the right thing to do, yes, but the correct way, no.
Okay, how do you think we should have done it then?
Okay, I mean, yes, we should have talked on Discord, but it just basically ended up being a glorified fucking shoutcast match between two groups of people, and Bror in the middle being the spectator, being like, what the frick?
Yeah. Because obviously all of the, as I mentioned earlier, all the issues that had been kind of under the surface for a long time, they kind of come up in that, um, negative atmosphere. And again, all of the frustration comes out. In that sense, it's good. In the other sense, you kind of alienate each other. You realize, okay, well, we're probably never gonna play together in a team, at least for a very long time. And it wasn't before like half a year after this that we two started playing together, at least in some aspect, when I was standing in. So in that sense, might be able to say that it was better than just like leaving Discords and blocking each other on Steam, I guess. I mean, that's kind of how I think about it, at least. But after this, on my part, I went and made a team. I made Hellbound with Ecke-Xelore, Nebula, and I think it was yeah, it was Håkon and Zekron, who was the British player. So obviously trying to remake like one of the former teams, you know, trying to, which is usually what I do. I take the players that I believe in, and then I make the roster, and then I get, you know, whatever pieces I can add on to it, and then I try to refine it, you know, as best as I can. That's kind of my philosophy on it. But what did you do in this time? What were you trying to do? You said you were trying to get new players. Were you trying to kind of get any of that like magic from any previous lineups, or what was your goal in that sense?
Okay, so me and Ecke, or okay, let's when I originally put up the article, if you, I'm not sure if you have the Nexus pondering leaving Cursed Cobras. Do you have
Um,
it?
um, that might be the only one I don't have.
I can actually link it to you.
Yeah, sure.
If I can, okay, or yeah, we'll link it. I'll just. So after I had put up this, okay, doesn't really zoom in that well. Okay, so after that, I got a message from a British player known as Rhys. We had talked like briefly. He was part of Smiley Popcorn, the team that ended up winning EEL, but he had been benched as he went on vacation. And he was saying basically that they're making a second team, and they were looking for 2 more players. So at first I was thinking, okay, I mean, I don't know. But after a bit of talking, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because I had tried to make a team, but it didn't really work out that well. There was a bit of clash of personalities between everyone on the team, and just didn't really feel like that good. So I ended up joining Smiley Popcorn Black, and then we were still looking for one more. It was me, Rhys, Zeno, and I want to say it was Nashi, maybe? I don't know. I think it was Nashi or
I
Bass. I'm
think so.
not too sure.
Yeah, must be either one of those.
But yeah, we were looking for one more. I had asked Ecke, but he was like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna get a national team. But but then I asked him, okay, well, until you do you just want to stand in for us and play play just because you can, basically? He was like, yeah, why not? And then I mean, he ended up joining the team on until he got removed a few months later. Uh, I mean, we played some things, we got decent results from that. And then I feel like now I've gone off with a tangent, but I mean we played a while. It felt good or refreshing to play in a different lineup. The only downside was the fucking was scheduling, since well I'm 2 hours ahead of them.
Yeah, scheduling always an issue at our level as well. Stand-in scheduling, always problems at our level. But I do have the thing open, and I'll so basically, do you want to talk through about you know, what you were writing here? You know, what was the why did you write this you know, fake HLTV article? You know, not why you wrote it, but what the point was. You know, what were you trying to communicate when you were writing it, or what, or through what you wrote?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, like yours, it was supposed to be kind of like it's a joke article, basically. So it was like it was I don't really know. I can't actually remember about that article. Yeah, I don't know. I actually can't remember anymore.
Yeah, because the way I saw it, at least, it was like, again, as you said, it was kind of how I do them, right? Or I haven't done one in a while, obviously, but that might change. Who knows? But basically, the whole point is you take this format. Okay, the HLTV joke, obviously, HLTV confirmed all this shit, right? So the whole point is like, okay, it's a bit of a joke, but it has like truth in it. You know, it's not the con the I guess the concept is a joke. It was in the beginning for me at least, but then it turned out to be okay. Well, the concept is a joke, but what I'm writing is actually completely true. You know, at least
Mhm.
as true as I can write it. You know, or what I'm trying to communicate through it. But you wrote, for example, and I remember talking to you about this not too long ago, I think. You know. You write, the pressure of fragging even for one game is too much as I can't rely on people to deliver when I'm not. With this, the in-game leading role is tough, as well as knowing one wrong call might lose us the entire game. And does that sum up the whole issues in Cursed Cobras, do you think?
I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe in the end or towards the end, as we were playing more actual officials or stuff. But I mean, yeah. Oh god, looking back, it really seems fucking condescending or whatever. But it really wasn't supposed to be like that. But I mean, I hope. Wait, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I mean, I think it's probably. I mean, since we didn't have the best. I mean, we weren't the best team. We were just decent players on a decent or a shit team, basically. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Well, it's good you. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, no. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's good you mentioned that that you didn't mean it to come through as that condescending because I think after the whole I'll call it a breakup. That sounds, you know, has its own connotations, I guess. But let's say the dissolution of Curse Cobras. Let's say it's a favorite word of mine. It sucks actually. But anyway, um, it's good that you say that because actually, me and Silo were talking about this, and we were kind of like, well, obviously we weren't happy about the whole like dissolution thing because me and him were always like, okay, no, we can fix this, we can work with this, you know, we can do all this shit. So we're similar in that sense, but it kind of um, really opened both our eyes to how bad it was in the team, like actually. And it kind of got me thinking as well because as a team captain, I always thought my role was to like, okay, I need to, you know, make sure everyone has an alright time, you know, have some kind of structure and cohesion in the team. And what that really showed to me was that like, okay, well, either I haven't been doing a very good job, which you can argue definitely, either that or people aren't as open as is the best for everyone. And I think that's kind of that latter part is might be the bigger issue that we had in that team. Because you know when people aren't honest, you can't really fix any of the issues, you know. Um, but if you could go back, would you be completely open and would you say like, okay, I'm not super confident as an in-game leader. I need some help. I need people to work on consistency, to work on maximizing their level, or would you have done that if you could?
Uh, I mean, obviously I'm very different right now, but I mean, if this me could go back, then yes. But then I feel like it would be different. But okay, the pre me back then, I feel like I definitely should have been way more open about things. Since I mean, I know I talked to like probably maybe you, but I think I talked to Oliver about this at least, or about stuff similar to this. I was like, okay, I mean, this is kind of weird. I don't really like this.
But the fact you have to be a good player and a game leader at the same time.
Wait, what about it?
Is that what you mean there? That you don't feel comfortable with?
No, more like, mm, I don't know. I mean, let's say if I have a bad game as a player, I'm like, oh shit. Well, I better fucking. Okay, well I can make good calls and make the right calls. Well, if I don't do that, or if I don't do either that, I'm like, oh well, that's fucking. That's bullshit. I just lost us the entire game, and I'm gonna be emo for like the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I feel like there's. I mean, that's the own pressure, but still that contradicts what I said earlier about being the agile and OPER.
Well, yeah, that's true actually.
Yeah.
I guess, well, obviously playing any role is hard or harder than you think when you start when the team is a bit fucky, I guess you could say, very unspecific, but a bit fucky in a lot of different senses, I guess.
Mhm.
But I want to touch on this very quickly at least, because there was that time after, I think it was actually, because you talked about this when we were playing in EEL, that you want to move away from in-game leading after we were done with season 3, I think it was. Yeah, season 3.
Yeah.
And I guess it has something to do with this, but why did you decide to do that in the middle of a tournament and, seemingly in a sense where, or in a time where, the team is already kind of falling apart. It's kind of crumbling a bit. It hasn't completely collapsed, but it's crumbling. Uh, like, what was the rationale behind doing it at that time?
Actually, this is incorrect information from you.
Is it?
Yes. It was Bror who messaged me about can he try the IGL role. I was like, yes, of course. Since I mean, obviously, I was still iffy. But then I asked him, is it okay if we switch after the tournament since that might change or fuck everything? I mean, obviously, not sure if the whole me not changing immediately fucked everything or no, since I'm retrospectively talking, I have no idea what would have happened if we had changed it.
Sure. So, I mean, this might be a bit of a silly question, but do you think that team would have been worth saving? Because obviously in the moment you're doing your best, of course, but when things are crumbling, it's very easy to check out, I guess, and think like, well, for me at least, I'll say that. That it's easy to check out and be like, okay, whatever this team's done, now I'll plan, the next roster, which I've done too many times actually. Um, but d do you think, um, did you think at the time that this team was worth saving? When the initial shit started going down, we're having issues with like internet and all this stuff, people are a bit upset, Do you think if we had saved that team, could we have done something more?
I'm gonna say I don't think so. Even I feel like it was good for all of us to go our separate ways and obviously get our different experiences or more experience. As I went to play play with Rhys, he was IGLing the team, and then I played with a different or variety of different lineups that helped me become a better player, better fucking in-game leader. I'm gonna say like even after you did take a step down from CS, you came back and I I'm just speculating here, but you might have felt more refreshed and willing to play CS.
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So I want to say it's similar to that. It's in my opinion, it's better that we didn't try and save the team.
Sure, I could see that. So, let's see. I'm just looking through what questions I asked Sealor. I guess actually, like, are there any players I haven't mentioned that we should talk about, do you think?
In the teams we played, no, I don't think so.
All forgettable bastards anyway, so.
Hmm.
Um, right, I guess actually, hmm.
Or maybe the legend X Muesli.
Yeah, yeah, the legend, yeah, and Chairman Bad and those guys, yeah. Expert gamers. I think actually, didn't we have that short period of time where we were trying out that in-game leader guy? What was his
Oh,
name? Didn't,
Desire.
yeah, didn't we have that guy? Yeah, should we make fun of him for a bit?
Yeah.
I think we should make fun of him. All right, roast him. Do it right now. Do it.
Fucks.
If you don't do what I say, I'm not gonna call.
We're scared.
He was a funny guy. I don't think he wanted to be. But hey, sometimes you just gotta do someone. You just gotta get them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was probably one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I'll just let Nexus in-game lead because if this is the caliber of people that are out there, yeah, I'm gonna say big no to that. Like that was a yikes for me, I think. That was a big yikes. So I guess actually the only thing that's left is actually talking about um, actually some of the players that you played with when I did the stand-in. Um, and well, actually only one. And one of them, the guy I want to ask about is Froggy. You haven't played with him that much, and it's been a while since you played with him. But what are your thoughts on him?
I think I played like 3 or 4 pugs with him. I can't really say that much, but up and coming Swedish talent. Next Ecke question mark?
Could be, yeah. You never know. Let's see. So, is it true that you're not in-game leading anymore?
I am actually now.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So is there any reason for that?
Uh, yeah, we don't actually know any decent IGL. Me and Ecke were thinking when we were gonna make a new team, we were like, okay, so who do we know that's a decent player? Oh shit, look at that guy, he's Oliver. He's fucking mad fragger. Let's pick that fucker up. Uh, shit, Luke's looking for a team. You're here as well.
And then you don't have a spot for an in-game leader.
No, then we were looking for one more, but we came to the decision that we're just gonna IGL with me, see how that goes for the beginning. We found a guy we like. He wants to be an entry type of player. Hold on. And then we went with it, and as me IGLing fucking worked. It was really like quite good. And basically that's just it. It works.
Okay, so did your perspective on in-game leading change after you played with Rhys? Because I know you had some, from speaking to Oliver and Rhys, I know you had some concerns about his in-game leadership. So did your perspective change at all? Did you get this feeling that like, okay, I can do way better than this guy. I can be way better than this guy. Is that did you change in that way?
No, it wasn't really that. I thought I was doing it better, or I could do it better than Rhys. But at one point, Rhys said, "Okay, I don't want to fucking IGL anymore." And then that's when we had Wibbo in the team, and me. So Rhys was like, "Okay, Nexus, do you want to IGL?" I'm like, I'll come back to you with an answer tomorrow." Rhys says, "No, I want this today." I'm like, "Oh well, I mean, right now I can't really say since we just lost an official, and I was tilted." So we both said, okay, I'll IGL, because Rhys was like, I want an answer now. I'm like, I can't provide you with one. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna IGL yet, or at least now. Then when Weibo leaves the team, Rhys IGLs again. I'm fine with it. I didn't mind. The only thing I minded that was bothering me about Rhys was the fact that he was quite condescending sometimes. His IGLing worked. But then we had a downfall, and me and I decided to leave when Ecke was or Ecke had made a comeback in my so-called comeback. That me and him started talking again. He sent me a message. Hey Lamau, we're looking for an AWPer. We're gonna drop ours. He's not really good. And then I was like, okay, because I think we dropped or Quasma left. I can't remember who it is. Then Rhys was like, okay, Nexus, what do you want to do? I'm like, okay, I'm leaving since I felt like I had had enough of Rhys's toxicity. Not that I mind him anymore. And then I joined Ecke in a team. Was in it for a few weeks. It didn't click. So we made our own one.
Yeah, that's when they went to origami, right?
No. Origami is with Rhys.
Oh. Oh yeah, that's true. I have 5 IQ.
Yes. I'm just telling things out of chronological order.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you should be doing this. You're way better at it than me, apparently. Shit. Jesus. Okay, well, there was actually that time. I don't know if you remember. I think it was in April or something, where there was that period where like I got this random message, right? Because I had just stepped down because of exams and school and all this other shit happening. Because exam period in Norway is in May, and I guess it's like that in a lot of other places too. But I was thinking, all right, fuck this CS shit. I need to, because my team had just failed. You know, we had got like a shit 5th player who didn't want to play anymore, and then okay, whatever, fuck it, I'm out. I did a Richard Lewis and just fucked off. And I got this random message. I think you messaged me actually, and you asked if like I want to try out for your team or something. Is that correct, or was it Rhys who messaged me?
That was Rhys.
Okay, sure. So I mean, what was the reasoning behind that? Why would you like? Were you just messaging everyone, or was there some specific reason why it was a possibility for me to join?
We were looking for. Okay, we had dropped. I can't remember. It wasn't. No, yeah, we dropped Wibo because I was scheduling. So. Okay. Sorry, I'm multitasking.
Sure. Has my internet died again?
Nope.
Okay, good. Thank fuck.
Okay. So we dropped Wibo. We were looking for a support player. I think Rhys messaged you because you're a support player mostly. Would you agree?
Sure.
But yeah. Yeah. So after that, you said you couldn't since you had your exams and because we were looking for someone to play ESCA with.
Yeah.
Since we had that. But then you said no. I had asked the Ecke since I could finally stand him again. I didn't think he was a dork.
All right.
Yeah. But he said nah, fam. I don't know. I'm no right now. I just want to focus on myself and play in a non-ESCA team right now. Since he'd actually want to practice for the season instead of joining mid-season.
Sure, yeah.
Then we settled on Quasma. He's a gamer. You might have heard of him.
I have.
Yep. So when that happened, our team basically decided to, or not decided to, but began falling apart as we started doing too many changes in the team, and then a few weeks later, Quasma said, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to LAN with these guys." Well, that's him leaving. And now I go back to the earlier point that it was Quasma who left, and then Rhys asked Nexus, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm out." Ecke's team was looking for an AWPer.
All right, okay.
So I joined that, and well, then a few weeks go by again. Me and Ecke make a new team. Me, Oliver, Doc, and Luke. There we go. That's the current situation.
Right. I guess one of the last questions is actually, um, do you think, because we mentioned this earlier when we were talking about playing with stand-ins in EEL Season 3, you're winning, but, you're not really doing the thing you want to do. This is kind of in a similar vein. Do you think um, it's, okay, might be a bit of a stupid question, but do you think it's actually, do you think winning and having fun are mutually exclusive? In the process, not winning itself. Obviously, that's fun. You worked hard for something, you did it, and now you can celebrate. Okay, we won something. But in the process of trying to win, putting in all that work, all that practice, and it may or may not pay off. Let's say it doesn't pay off. In that sense, do you think it is mutually exclusive to be working towards winning and having fun at the same time?
Kinda? I mean, if you feel like you can. Okay, so if you feel like this is something you deserve, then yes, it's supposed to be. It's fun. But if you're playing with a stand-in and you're like, I mean, yeah, just going back to the stand-in whole thing. But you're like, okay, well, yeah. I mean, we win. It's not really fun. We're not working as a team. Well, that's not really good. But if you're working as a team, you're winning. I feel like that's the best type of fun you can have. Like compared to just winning and barely scraping by. I don't think that's really as fun. If that answers your question.
I mean, I would have to agree. I mean, it goes back to this whole thing of like, you have a goal and you work towards it, and that process is like, it's what may or may not be fun. It obviously depends on who you are, what your priorities are. If you're just looking to play, with your mates and maybe win something, then yeah, sure. But if you're, you know, tryharding in the sense of like you're trying to win and you're working towards winning, then yeah, maybe they are mutually exclusive. Who knows? Definitely in the situation where you're not playing with the people you want to play with, that can definitely be an issue. But I'll ask you this as well then. It's kind of in a similar vein again. Which Cursed Cobras lineup do you think was the best that we fielded on the server?
Gosh, okay. The Cursed Cobras lineup. I have no idea. I actually don't know.
Okay, well,
Because
let's
all of them
say.
had their quote unquote strong suits. But still, all of them were shaky in their own. I mean, some of them shared their quote unquote weaknesses and were like, okay, maybe, yeah, this is not radical as a team. And some of them were like, oh shit, this is actually working. And I just punched my microphone.
Nice, heard that. Ow. Okay, so at the end of the interview, do you have anything to say or anyone to say thanks or hello to?
Um, Hi, Mom. I made it.
I mean, that works, I guess. Well, kiitos vittu.
Wow.
I'm
Ole
sorry.
hyvä vittu.
Jaha.